Hey, leader, 10 years ago, we put out a book called Figure That Shift Out. We're celebrating the 10-year birthday with 10 stories of transformation of people who went through Figure That Shift Out and experienced a completely new level. They didn't get there by pushing harder in the pressure. They learned how to see clearly who they are in the best and worst of moments. We could say how they could relax into their brilliance. Listen in on these stories as you consider what might be possible for your own transformation. What's up, Sight Shift podcast? Super fun to be sharing with you 10 stories of transformation from Figure That Shift Out turning 10. We can't believe it. It's here. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was interview 10 people for just 10 minutes that have been through Figure That Shift Out at some point over the last decade. So we're going way back from 2015. We may even have a few little fresh 2024 baby ducklings. Uh, this one's a midpoint. You're not mid, Reagan. It's just
Oh
midpoint.
gosh, thank you.
Reagan Pugh, welcome to the podcast. So glad you're here. And just for some context, tell us what Reagan Pugh does in the world, and we'll go from there.
So glad to be here, Chris. Hello, everyone. I am a writer and a speaker, and most of my work is focused on the interior journey. After doing consulting and coaching for a while, and educating and trying to teach people how to do things, it becomes clear that there's always something underneath all of it, and it's what's going on inside of you, and how do we get people to talk about that in a real way. And so, of course, as I came across the side shift material and I saw that the way Chris was approaching interior formation, it was a natural link.
Ooh, um, my man. And I remember a specific point of our connection, which I think is funny, but take us to the moment for you, like what was happening, what was compelling, on our end that you're like, I need to do this, what was happening in your life that you think I need to do this, any or either of it, whatever shows up.
Well, there was one word. Tell me if this is where you want to go. There's one word that brought us together, and that word was on identity. Um,
Booyah. Yeah.
I was posting something about that. We were connected through a mutual friend, and I think you slid into my DMs.
That's what we
And
do as
you know,
a y- young Gen Xer.
yeah, I couldn't resist. You're so smooth, and we had this first phone call where we just jammed on like, what's the story that we're telling ourselves about who we are and what influences those stories. And then Jay Klaus slipped me a copy of your book. He had a stack of them that he was handing out, and I got a copy of that book, and man, it spoke to me. And so at the time that I was trying to make that shift to how do I talk about this deeper, more meaningful stuff, and how do I stop giving a dumb workshop on time management or crucial conversations, you were someone that was further down the road and articulating what it looks like for people to really take a look at their fears and the stories they tell themselves. And so I think that it just clicked from the beginning.
I love it. What for you was the concept that has stuck the most, looking back now, 5, 6 years later, and you're like, this is the thing that stayed with me the most.
Dude, on the daily, proving and hiding sticks. It's just a great barometer looking throughout my day and noticing moments where I feel an urge to like get big and be defensive and prove that I have worth or prove that I should be respected. Or then, conversely, there's the moments where I'm embarrassed and before the calls, before this interview started, I was talking about some areas still where I'm hiding from something.
Hmm.
Um, and man, that's just such, as you phrase it, as like an antenna on the duct tape to the side of my head. It's just such a great way to signal to myself, okay, dude, this is old programming, and if you can notice it first, then you can flip the lie, right?
Hmm.
So that's been one that sticks, and then of course from there we dig deeper into my core identity fear,
Hmm.
and being able to look in the mirror in that way has just allowed me to realize, and my identity fear is around wanting to be special and unique, and um, realizing that nobody else out in the world is worried about me or my contribution to being special and unique, and it's up to me just to participate. So it's still something daily and weekly that I come back to. They're touchstones So much so that shortly after we met, it was like, I got to evangelize this thing, right? So we got to collaborate right before COVID on an in-person event where you
Yeah.
flew to Austin and we delivered Site Shift to like 85 people. And our reviews for that event were through the roof. So cool to continue to participate in that personally, and then also to be able to jam on it with you professionally.
My man. Well, and this is why I wanted you to be one of the stories, is because you leaned in, you did the work, and you've stayed with it. You've kept paying attention to like how this is opening up in new frontiers in my life and world. And I think that's what's so inspiring because, everybody stops somewhere, and you can, a lot of people, you can see that, like, all right, they're just done. They don't want to grow more than they've achieved at this point. And not that it's about the numeric growth, but the substantial transformative growth of who we're becoming. And I think for me, what's inspiring is like you're navigating this high wire that a lot of people pull one of the ditches on. How do I do the work that I'm wired up to do? I do have a unique way I show up. How do I lean into that, not define myself by it, not make myself have to be met, but I'll meet people where they are. I'm going to do work that I care about that's substantial, and I have to deliver value, and I have to build a business, and now I have a family, and I've got to
Yep.
do all of these things. And so I'm seeing you live it out now in a really special way. What for you, if you were to like forecast out and you go, okay, I think about the next 5 to 10 years, if I could take this idea of really being secure in who I am, leading at my absolute best, here's a little bit of what I would like to see happen in myself. I'd like to transform more along these lines. There may not be anything, just curious.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, man. What's beautiful about it is I think the truth from Site Shift and the wisdom that you've drawn on to build the framework and the methodology, it's you can understand it conceptually in one pass, but just like any good timeless piece, any really enduring tool, you come back to it and you reread it and you see a new thing each time.
Mm,
So I think conceptually, I understood that my particular identity fear, I'm gonna overvalue a sense of freedom or independence and creative expression, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna undervalue a consistency in the way that I show up. And
mm.
then my language for that is dumbing down creative ideas that I have because I want them to be super special and unique for people. Um, but eventually, when you keep coming back and doing the work, the thing that I love about Site Shift is, um, although it is calling us on all of our BS,
Mm,
never once is there a sense of shame because all of the different identity fears, they're rooted back down into this one idea that we're all scared and that
mm,
we're all fearful and that we all want to
mm,
be whole. And so there's some equanimity there that
mm,
ties us all together. And if we can accept that like we've still got a little part of us that's afraid, we can have compassion on that for ourselves and on other people. For me, as I keep coming back to the work that y'all have developed, um, I realize, man, there's still the part of me that's afraid
mm,
to really commit to building my business in a way that I think really does achieve more traction
mm,
because my core identity fear has to do with freedom. And so I still sabotage myself when it comes to building something that is going to be more than a one-off thing. Because
mm,
then what happens if it's awesome? Well, what happens if it's awesome is that I'm going to be required to do more. I'm going to be required to show up more consistently on a regular basis. And the scared part of me is like, are you going to have what it takes in that future state to show up all the time when you overvalue a sense of freedom and moody days where you get to go read poetry by yourself? You know? So for me, the growth needs to continue to look like, especially now that I have a family,
mm,
my if I was speaking to my old self, they would hear, Reagan, you need to dumb down some of your ideas, make them a little bit more accessible so that everyone can get on board.
mm,
But the more evolved self says, no, 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 what you need to do is you need to build something that allows people to understand it in one moment. Because I've
mm.
got this huge, rich, internal romantic world that oftentimes I vomit on stages, all of that out. And then I get discouraged when people don't jive with it.
Yeah.
Um, but if we're really talking about being of service to other people, and if we're really talking about me building something more sustainable, it's going to really involve me moving on that spectrum in my own growth and my identity fear toward consistency, toward building something that's a little bit more understandable, and toward realizing that I don't have to make something super special, out of this world, unique for it to be of service and still be enjoyable for me to deliver.
Can a man slam dunk self-awareness? Because it just happened. I mean, like, holy cow. Anybody that would have any inclination that identity fear is in their top three, the language you've given, even if their context looks different and they're not out there doing the entrepreneur, solopreneur thing, like, we see it with CEOs all the time. Like, I led the meeting and I communicated my ideas. And I'm like, yeah, but what did they hear? My man, here's what it inclines me to say. These are 10-minute episodes, so we're landing the plane. 10 stories, 10 years. Reagan has an ability to be in the room, and those of you that know me best know that, like, my favorite thing, be in the room, speaking, see those moments happen, see that room shift. I'm obsessed with that moment, and Reagan has this ability, and you've heard it here on the podcast, to do that, to be in that room, create that special moment, facilitate that moment, shift that moment. So if people want to find out more and they're like, we got to get the Reagan magic in our room, where would you like them to go?
Oh, go to reaganpugh.com. Find me at Reagan Pugh on all the socials. I love talking to groups of people who are interested in doing some inner work and getting out of their way. If you like what Chris is doing, I think you like what I'm doing.
And to make it palatable to where they are, why don't you spell out Reagan Pugh? I got you on that.
ReaganPugh.
Booyah. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here on the podcast. Reagan, thank you for being with us today, sharing your story. Peace out.
It's an honor.
Thanks for listening in as we dove into the story of transformation as someone went through Figure That Shift Out. We're celebrating 10 years, 10 stories, and I don't want it just to be something you listen to. Explore what might be possible. Imagine how far you might go in your leadership. And join one of our Figure That Shift Out coaching groups. Work with one of our certified coaches. I look forward to hearing about the transformation that you go through as a result of Figure That Shift Out.